We're at Jessica Thompson's place, and there's Jessica Thompson now. Oh my goodness. So, Jessica, tell us about this beautiful room we're in.
This is pretty much a dream come true. Does that sound too Disneyland?
No, that's great. I would agree.
Okay, after basically 20 years of working in other people's studios or in rented rooms, all of which did not have windows, one of which was in a basement, I decided it was time to invest in my own space. And I'm fortunate enough to own a house. So I hired a contractor, I hired an architect, I hired an acoustic designer, and everyone worked together, and this is the result.
And it came out great.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about, tell me about like behind the yellow walls. What's behind there?
Behind the yellow walls is massive amounts of rock wool. It's my dog.
And that's Rooster?
Rooster is my dog.
Rooster
he really wants to be part of this.
Yeah.
So when we designed this, and George Augsburger did the plans for the acoustic treatment. Basically, he said, have the architect give me a Lego block, and I will design what goes in the Lego block. And we had the ability to play a little bit with like dimensions to optimize. But the big thing he did was say, well, first of all, let's put 2 closets in between the rest of the house and the studio, and they act as a buffer, acoustically and just mentally. Like when you're walking into the room, first you have to go through the closets.
Oh, I see. These 2 doors?
Equipment closet is on the right, and then storage closet, and as you saw, just like piles and piles of junk that I haven't put away yet, closet on the left. But then we covered up huge percentages of wall space with these beautiful panels. I picked the yellow. You know why I picked yellow? I'm so sick of maroon and navy blue and black. I wanted something so light and with like a really warm energy. So if you're going to do it yourself, you get to pick that stuff. So we have like 3 inches of rock wool all along the sides, 10 inches in the back, 8 inches in the front, and then all of the other acoustic panels and the bass traps. And the vaulted ceiling, which is truly the star of this room, I think.
And what's the idea with these behind the ATCs?
Yeah, those are acoustic bass traps. And they capture and control some of that low-end content so it doesn't escape and bounce all around the room and cause it to be like muddy or incoherent.
Okay. And then speaker-wise, you chose ATCs.
Yeah.
And what model of ATCs are these?
SEM50s.
Okay. On these giant sound anchor stands, right?
Yeah, the stands are heavier than the speakers, if you can believe it.
I can believe it.
Because the speakers are sincerely heavy, and the stands, I could barely move myself.
Are the stands filled with sand?
They are not. I could, but right now they're not.
Yeah, I used to have a pair that was filled with sand, which is why I ask.
Yeah.
Now tell us about your ATR over here.
This is my pride and joy, my baby of the studio. I purchased this from John Cunaberti. It was in the record plant before he bought it. And since then, even though I've had to do some expected maintenance, it is an absolute marvel. It plays back tapes so beautifully, so cleanly. I can do 1/4 inch and 1/2 inch stereo, and I also have 1/4 inch full track mono and 1/4 inch quarter track, so I can do the tapes where they had channels 1 and 3 going one way and 2 and 4 going the other way. Mm-hmm. So I can do those, and it gets a ton of use, which is thrilling. I mean, it's awesome to have a piece of gear like that and then actually use it.
Yeah.
So I would say it's not gathering dust, but I'm actually looking at it right now, and I'm like, oh, could use
a little dusting.
A little dusting.
Okay.
Should have done that before.
And then tell us about the gear that you've got here. Now, obviously, I brought you this today to try out.
Thank you.
So hopefully that will find its home here.
It'll find a home. As I was saying to you before, I've rearranged this rack like 3 or 4 times in the past 2 months because I'm not settled on the ergonomics of it yet and the path. I like to hardwire stuff. So for my analog chain, I usually go first into the dangerous backs, which is, I think of it as just a lovely sort of like lifting EQ. Like it tilts, you know? It's like, do you need a little of this? Should we pull back a little of that? So gentle.
Very broad stroke, right?
Yes. And then I have the Portico, which I have loved this. I've coveted. This is a piece of gear I've coveted for a long time. I finally got my hands on one. The Manly Mastiff Passive is one of the first pieces of gear I ever bought. That was my shocking introduction to expensive gear, and no regrets. I love it. I use it all the time. It's just magnificent. We were talking about converters. I just purchased the Lynx Aurora. I needed something different. And I have demoed so many converters, and I know how expensive they can get. And this one really felt like, in its price range, the best I was gonna get. And I'm really happy with it so far. Like it does what it's supposed to do and nothing else.
Fantastic. What do we have here?
Okay, these are sort of lesser used. So right now I use the Prism Dream exclusively when I'm doing tape transfers. And it's just that the tape machine goes directly in, and then I run parallel DSD transfers through this Tascam. That's just the deliverables for a large archiving project I've been working on for a couple of years. And we love the way the ATR sounds with the Dream. So that's our magical pairing that we use for that archival work. Obviously, I got my Dolby SR&A for when I get tapes that need that.
Need that decoding.
Yes, and sorry, this buddy's gone into second place now, so that's my backup metric halo conversion.
Okay.
It's not plugged in right now.
Tell us about this meter up here.
This used to be an old, like, radio broadcast meter. Josh Bonatti hipped me to this, and I actually kind of love it. It's got exactly what you need, except one light bulb's out. You get your VUs, you get a little like scope there, and it's just simple. You can find them on eBay. That's where I got it. And they're very inexpensive. And it's just like, it's another one of those pieces that's like, hey, I want a thing that does exactly what I need it to do and nothing else. So.
And could you tell us a bit about what's over in these racks? 'Cause
yes.
there's quite a lot of
For sure.
old school stuff going on here.
Well, as you know, I do a lot of archival transfer work. And one of the most pressing problems in the archiving and historic audio world is that the playback gear is harder and harder to find, especially well-maintained. So typically when I have the opportunity to purchase a good piece of playback gear, I will. And I have right now 3 Nakamichis. One of them is the cassette deck one and 2 680s. And then I have the Tascam workhorse that so many studios have.
And those of you who have watched the studio tour of my room will recognize the cassette deck one from Nakamichi.
Yeah, so that's my cassette stable. And they all kind of serve a different purpose, depending on the cassette I'm working with and what it needs. I choose based on that. I have 3 DAT players now, Panasonic and my twin Sonys. And again, that's just like options, right? If it doesn't work in one, it might work in the other.
And is that's a DA88 at the bottom?
Yeah, let's not talk about that.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. I don't want to do any DA88s.
Don't send any DA88s.
Yeah, I'll pass them on to colleagues who are much more adept. And I won't say they enjoy it, but they're good with it.
And a couple turntables.
Yes. So my primary turntable that I use like 90% of the time is just a Technics 1200. It's heavily modded. So I pulled out the power supply, which means it runs a little quieter. It's wired for 78 RPM, so I can do 78s on it. I just have to switch out the heads. And right now I'm using an Ortofon Black for my LP 45 playback, which is marvelous. And again, it's like, I'm not a super gearhead, but I love gear that does the thing it's supposed to do in the best possible way and nothing else. Like, I don't need bells and whistles. I need the thing to do the thing. And that's what I got there.
And what about this one right here?
That's an esoteric, and it has some more nuanced speed controls for working with 78s, because 78s are not always 78. So if I'm working on early discs in the 78 era, that might come into service.
And I commented on these earlier. These are from niceracks.com. These are beautiful looking. That blue color really is nice.
I love it. You know, I care about
the
aesthetics.
Yeah. Well, if you're going to spend all day in a room, this is not a bad room to spend the day in. It's very spacious. It's airy. The wood ceiling that's kind of angled is really, really nice to look at.
Yeah, I'm thrilled with it. There's always more to do. You know this. There's always like, oh, I need that. I want to try that.
Yeah.
But overall, this for me hits the sweet spot. It sounds good. I understand it. And it's so comfortable. And it feels so good to work here. Like the light, the colors, the spaciousness, having my little nipper dog over there to keep me company. All of it just feels good. And I couldn't be happier. I just could not be more grateful and more thrilled that after doing this work for 20 years, I finally built my own room.
And one last piece.
Oh, yeah.
Tell us about this preamp.
That is an Archival phono preamp. So it just has a lot more features than your typical phono preamp. It's awesome if all you're doing is an LP and you need the RIAA curve. You can still really dial in some nuances depending on like if the left-right balance of your original pressing is off or things like that. But it also has all the various EQ curves for earlier discs. So when I am in the 78s world, I can dial up the appropriate EQ curve.
Excellent. Thanks for letting me come on in and ask a bunch of questions.
It's my pleasure. I hide out here by myself far too often. And honestly, I have not had very many people over, and you're one of the first. So
wow. Well, thanks for having me over.
I'm glad you could come by.
Awesome.